Black sheep are resentful. We just are. And I feel like this is true for us, honestly, across the board, but it makes sense. It wasn't fair. What we went through was not fair. And we're going to develop feelings of that. And part of that is honestly even connected to the justice that we know is true in our souls, in our hearts, in our minds. So, how does this all come together? Because the thing about resentment is that while it may be based on some honest feelings, it is something that can make you move through life like sludge. It will hold you back in so many ways, and it is so deeply rooted and connected to all of the limiting beliefs that hold you back from being the person that you actually want to become. In this podcast episode, I am going to share 4 ways that you can overcome your resentment.
Your low self-worth ends here. Welcome to Becoming Enough, a podcast dedicated to breaking down your experience as a black sheep and understanding how that impacts your self-worth. Your experience as a black sheep and cycle breaker is unique, and it's time we finally started to talk about it.
If you're new here, welcome to the Becoming Enough podcast. My name is Roshni. My pronouns are they, them. I'm a self-worth coach, a content creator, a tarot reader, and a workshop facilitator, a podcast host, so many other things. But the focus of my content is around being the black sheep of your family, being the cycle breaker, and what the journey is like to find our way back into our worthiness. So let's talk about resentment, because resentment is genuinely one of those things that will hold you back so much in life, but it's so important that we start with sitting with the feeling. So I wanted to actually define what resentment means. So I looked up the definition of resentment in Merriam-Webster's, and this is what the dictionary says. It says it defines resentment as a feeling of indignant displeasure or persistent ill will at something regarded as a wrong, insult, or injury. So what I wanted to mention here is the persistence piece of it. That is the most important part, and that is why we need to learn to overcome resentment, because this is one of those feelings that truly will almost become a part of your identity, right? Like you become that person that believes that everything's fair for everyone else, that things come easily to other people, but not for yourself. And by you doing that, you're almost manifesting for other people instead of yourself. You're almost saying like, yeah, of course, like the beautiful woman at my like office job who like acts like there's not a care in the world. Like, of course they're going to get whatever they want. Like, of course these evil people in the world are going to get whatever they want. It's all these ways that we project, but then almost make it easier for them instead of using that same energy that you have for yourself, right? And so this is also why unlearning resentment is going to be the thing that not only aligns you with high self-worth, but truly aligns you and catapults you into the life that you actually deserve to live. So the first thing that I want to say about black sheep being resentful is that we need to just acknowledge that and honestly lean into it. I was stretching the other day and I struggle with like chronic neck and back pain. And so I was kind of like moving through my neck and stretching and just kind of trying to massage like some of the tension out. But what I was doing in that moment was realizing that when I leaned into an area of tension or a knot or whatever that like muscle or fascia issue was, if I leaned into it, while it was a little painful and definitely uncomfortable, it kind of helped me release it more. And that's when it clicked in my mind that that is exactly what we need to do with resentment and honestly most of our heavier emotions. We need to lean into the fact that it was not fair. And every time that we feel something or experience something or make something a part of our identity, it is coming up for a reason. And your body does not lie. Your body is being honest. So when you feel that heaviness in your body, when you feel that anger like surging through your body, anger and resentment, of course, are very tied together. So when you feel those feelings starting to rise up and then you push them down because you can't express them, that is where you start to realize that resentment is very, very present. And that means that your body is genuinely feeling this emotion. So that is step one. Whether you want to consciously admit that whether or not you're feeling it or experiencing it, you can understand it and acknowledge it through the physical sense, through the fact that your body does genuinely get this gut-wrenching feeling, or these feelings of anger or rage, or just comparing your childhood to everyone else's. Like, all of those little things likely in the past or still currently do bring up that pang, right? Just that pain in your stomach, that gut-wrenching feeling, that stomach dropping type of feeling that reminds you how unfair things really were for you. And it is okay to admit that. It doesn't make you wrong. And I'm getting like the vibe of Gen X here, but just that mentality that Gen X was brought up with, that a lot of us were brought up with, which is, we're just going to tough it out. We're just going to, like, we know that things are messed up. We know that things are hard, but we're just going to tough it out. But when you do that, you're also not acknowledging the full amount of power that emotion has over you. So when we bury our heads in the sand and we keep pushing forward and pushing forward, we are honestly not allowing ourselves to let go of the feeling. We are just doubling down our energy and our effort to move things forward. And that's why I said it feels like moving through sludge in your own life, because yes, you're burying your head in the sand and you're just moving through it, and maybe you are moving forward, but you could be using half that energy and moving 4 times as quickly if you didn't have this resistance and this push and pull. So that is why it's so important to talk about this. Your experience as the black sheep, your experience as the cycle breaker, as someone that was traumatized or abused in your household, that is not fair. That was not fair. And your resentment and the source that it came from, the early memories that it came from, were your body's call to justice. Your body was recognizing that what you were going through was not fair and was not right. And this is one of the most interesting experiences about being a black sheep. We realize sometimes in our 20s or sometimes even later in life how toxic our family actually was, how wrong it was that they were doing some of the things that they were doing. And we go through this second genesis where we realize, even as adults ourselves, how we would never do that, how wrong it actually was, how they did have a choice. But when we are children, not only are we brand new to the world and figuring ourselves out and figuring life out, but their treatment of us becomes normalized. And even in those moments, we feel like something's wrong. We feel like we know we're being hurt. We know we're crying. We know we're upset. We know we feel alone, but we don't really understand what that means. We don't know what we can do about it. We don't know that we are not really supposed to feel this way, or that you just feel so helpless. And that is the birthplace of that resentment, because you go to school and you see kids around you with, all these stories about how much they love their family or their parents, how much their parents love them, the gifts that they got, the vacations they go on. And this doesn't even necessarily have to be related to, money or finance, although it can be. This can also just be seeing like the joy on your friend's face when they have those parents. The parents who love them, the parents whose house you feel welcome at, the parents who always have snacks and always want to do something fun with you and who make you feel loved. You know what that feeling is like as a kid, and then you start to go home to your own family and realize how off it really is. But you also don't have any control. So again, your body is screaming for justice. Your body is screaming for something to make sense to you, because everything you're going through doesn't. So step 1 in this process is to lean into it. It is to acknowledge that part of you that does feel like things were unfair, that feels like everyone did have it better than you. It doesn't matter what everyone else was going through or not. You felt like you were unseen. You felt like you were unheard, like you were unloved, and like you were unworthy. And those are fundamental identity shifting, ground-breaking things to go through and to feel as a child, and they are not easy to let go of. That is why I created my entire business and my entire career around helping you unlearn these things even well into adulthood, because these feelings are so severe that you end up forming your entire identity around it, like I said. So now, not only did you experience these feelings, but then they created these beliefs around you, which then created your identity, which then informs every decision you're going to make in your life, and how you treat yourself and talk to yourself and treat other people, and what you're willing to receive and forgive. And then that turns into your life's experiences, which turns into evidence for why you should have these beliefs in the first place. So we are on this trajectory that is going a million miles an hour, rolling downhill. And until we throw something out there to create a wrench in that momentum, it will just keep moving forward. But acknowledging that that was unfair, acknowledging that a part of you created this belief because you were so in pain is important. And that is what is going to make that part of you feel heard enough to then feel like it can quiet down. That part of you has been screaming since childhood. And I know this is so hard to hear. And I'm sending you so much love as you receive this podcast episode and this message. But I feel like if it is creating an emotional response in you, this is more proof that you need to hear these words. And again, be gentle with yourself. This isn't to yell at you or shame you. I'm saying this came from an honest and just part of you. So lean into it. Make that inner child part of you feel heard. And there is maybe even a way that you can bring play or art into this. So thinking about even writing or playing a song, it could even be instrumental if you're called to a certain instrument, and just kind of leaning into this feeling a little bit, not necessarily letting yourself cave back into it, but allowing your body to, and that inner child part of you to come forward and act this out through play. So this could be in the form of a song, of a poem, of a short story, of claymation. This could be like enacting something out. This could be writing a play. This could be, you just creating some sort of art, painting. Like I said, it can be abstract. You don't have to verbalize the exact thing that you went through. But finding a way to bring some play into this feeling and allowing your inner child to express it, even allowing, like, maybe go to a rage room, right? Like, let that part of you express this anger, express this rage, and express this feeling of things being unfair. Don't keep repressing it, because you've been repressing it for long enough. The second step that you are going to take in order to overcome your resentment is to ask yourself the following question: what is this resentment stopping me from doing or being? That question is going to call you back into your power. And being called back into your power is what this is all about. We can't go back, we can't change anything, but what we can definitely do is make sure that it doesn't stop us from living the life we were destined to live. We can make sure that it doesn't stop us from becoming the person we were always meant to become. Part of answering this question is going to be defining your goal. What is it that you want to become? What is it that you want to be? What is it that you want to do? And maybe some of you have a full, like, you could rattle off a whole list, a whole scenario, a whole thing, and that's perfect. If you are feeling stuck in this area, then come up with one thing, right? Do you want to feel carefree? Do you want to feel loving? Do you want to feel like you can show up in your full energy? Do you want to feel like you want to stop watering yourself down, or you want to stop letting people tell you no, or you want to stop self-sacrificing? It can be one little piece of the puzzle, but something that you definitely want and something that you are sure of, right? Define that goal, because that is what you're doing this for. That is essentially your why, right? Why are you doing this work? Why are you doing this healing work? Why are you working on your resentment? Oh, it's because it's stopping you from being this thing that you really want. You cannot be resentful and be carefree. You cannot be stuck in resentment and live a life of complete freedom. And it's not to say that it's either or, but if that's the primary thought, if that is a limiting belief that is running your life, then you are genuinely going to be so stuck and hold yourself back from so many things that you don't even see, that you don't even understand. And you're going to keep looking around at your life and all the patterns that you are experiencing and asking yourself, why? Why am I going through this again? Why am I repeating this cycle? Why is everyone I date the same person? Why does it never go anywhere? Why am I constantly repeating these cycles in my career without any sort of breakthrough? A lot of those cycles can be determined by the beliefs that you have, by your limitations, and by what feels safe to your nervous system. And speaking of your nervous system, I created the Worthiness Blueprint, which is an online self-paced course. It's only $50, but it works through specific self-worth nervous system issues, and it gives you a somatic routine, gives you an EFT round where I teach you how to use EFT and tapping on your acupressure points along with self-worth affirmations. It comes with a workbook. It comes with teaching portions to teach you more about why you feel so affected and bogged down from your black sheep experience, and it gives you a workbook so that you can connect those feelings and thoughts to your present day self. So it's not just random information I'm throwing at you, but you can step by step decipher and break down how it is impacting you in your life today. So if this is something that you feel like you need help with or work on, I highly recommend the Worthiness Blueprint. It is going to help you break everything down so that you can step by step build that framework of self-worth to give you that foundation so that you can continue in doing this work around resentment. So I did want to shout that out. Once you have this goal of who it is that you want to be, what it is that you want to become, then you need to understand what has happened in the past. You need to understand your specific patterns and your specific patterns of self-sabotage, right? Because we just talked about why are you repeating the same cycles in dating, in love, in career, right? And whatever those things are where you are waiting for this breakthrough to happen. It could be finances. It could be anything. You are waiting for a certain breakthrough. You are waiting for something and you keep circling around it and you can feel that in your energy and you're like, why am I missing it? Why can't I just connect to it? Why can't I align with these things that I know I want? And so there is a level of sabotage there. And I'm not saying it's all your fault. Some of it could be timing. Some of it could just be preparedness, right? But to an extent, there is this idea still of some sort of sabotage, some way that you're holding yourself back. And the sabotage could just be not putting yourself out there enough, right? It doesn't have to be this like thing that is so external or that is so evil. It can just be these ways that you are playing smaller than you should be. These ways that you are saying no to yourself before someone else says no to you. And that has been something like a message and an idea that Spirit keeps bringing to me lately. And so I feel like I really need to mention it. But understanding this cycle of sabotage is going to be so important in then looking at the big picture and connecting the dots of how resentment has caused you to go in that cycle, go in that pattern. So I want to stop here and use an example so that it's a little bit easier to understand, or so I can make sure I'm explaining it well. I can use myself as an example. I had a lot of resentment, and that was something that impacted my business so much when I was starting out. But even for the last few years, that feeling of being in school and watching all the popular kids around me have like these big social lives and have all these friends and have all this confidence that I just couldn't muster, right? And then going through everything at home, like nothing I went through, including like being an immigrant, being one of only a few brown kids in a very white school in suburban Texas, like being Christian and not quite fitting in either with my Indian friends or the Indian community around me, and then going through everything I was dealing with at home and being an only child and so much, right? And through all of that, I learned that I was an outsider. I learned that I didn't fit in. I learned that I could never be my whole self in any place. And while I was learning those things about myself and developing that identity around myself and who I was watching all these other people around me get what they want so easily. And even if we fast forward into my life as someone who was starting their own business, right? There weren't the popular kids or the regular cool kids like in my high school, but there were successful people in business who seemed like they had it all, who would constantly talk and brag about how quickly they would earn money, how easily it happened for them, how it was something that practically just fell into their lap 1 year in, or maybe that it was something about all of these exact strategies that they use, and if you just buy their course, then you can do it too. All that kind of stuff is like what I was bombarded with when I started my business journey. And so to me, it was a complete reiteration of like the cool, popular, rich kids getting everything that I wanted and me being left out of the club. And I had no connections, no mentors, no angel investors, no money, like no resources. I didn't even have a camera. I hated being on camera. I hated speaking. Like I didn't have anything I needed when I started a business. Like I literally had my $400 Toshiba laptop and vibes. Like that was it. And knowing that feeling though of me being left out, of no one wanting to listen to me, how do you think that impacted my business, of me wanting to put my content out there and then wanting to coach other people? Like if I have the inherent belief that everyone wants to listen to other people but not me, everyone wants to take advice from everyone else but not me, everyone wants to work with other people and other people make easy sales but not me, what do you think that did to me as a business owner? It made me stop putting myself out there for opportunities. It made me stop introducing myself for what I really did, even in my videos and my own content. And I didn't even make that connection because I'm coming up with this example on the spot. But in this video, I made sure to introduce myself. And for years, I would just be afraid of introducing myself in my own content, even though like I'm only talking to the people who are watching it, but I still couldn't do it. I just had resentment and fear around it. And I thought that I couldn't claim these things about who I was. I thought that I was here to deliver this information and be a conduit, but not receive anything myself. And so this caused issues around me being seen, my ability to put myself out there, my ability to take rejection, my ability to receive, to ask for help. And these are all the cycles that not only have I been breaking for years, but that I've also broken again in rapid succession in the last few months. But breaking these cycles is the only thing that has gotten me to the next level. I wouldn't be here if I hadn't faced those things. And that's why it's so important for you to do that too, because the resentment was constantly telling me that I was not good enough and that other people were, that I couldn't ask for what I wanted, but other people could. So even in that, I was further isolating myself. I was further shaming myself. So then from that place of shame and isolation, I wasn't going to go ask for help. I wasn't going to ask to receive. I wasn't going to look at my work as valuable. I wasn't going to charge what I was worth. Do you see what I'm saying? Do you see how it's all connecting? So just to recap, step number 2 in overcoming your resentment is to ask yourself, what is this resentment stopping me from doing or being? And that is going to connect you back to your powers. And in order to do that, you need to define the goal of who it is you want to become, or what it is you want to do, and understand the previous patterns of self-sabotage that have kept you from doing or being that thing. Step number 3 in overcoming your resentment is to forgive yourself for the past patterns. Once you recognize the patterns and you start doing your healing work, that is when a whole other wave of shame, isolation, and potentially still resentment can come flooding in. Because then we think about all the opportunities we missed. We think about all the times where if we could have given that extra 10%, if we could have done that extra little bit, then maybe we could have gotten there sooner. Maybe we could have saved ourselves from the pain and heartache. Stop that right now. Stop yourself from doing that right this second, because A, that is not helpful. B, that is part of your pattern of self-sabotage. The shame, the internalized constant shame dialogue is not going to get you where you want to go. If you listen to anyone successful, they're never going to say, hey, why don't you just shame yourself and yell at yourself a little bit more until you get there? And newsflash, when you quote unquote get there, that's not going to fix the shame and resentment. It's still going to keep going. You're just going to have all this cool stuff around you, and then you're going to look like a total dick because your life looks great on the outside, but you can't handle it on the inside. So like either way, you need to do the work and you need to do it now. And that includes forgiving yourself. So forgive yourself for all the times that you didn't do what you needed to do. Forgive yourself for all the times that you played small, or that you missed the opportunities, or that you contributed to your own self-sabotage. And while this is a 2-word step, it is incredibly difficult, and it is something that is just going to happen over time. You can't just sit there and pause your healing and pause your life until you forgive yourself, but the way to do this, and the way to really stick with any kind of healing or any kind of mental shift or mindset shift, is to reaffirm it when you start to go backwards on it, right? So, say you're like, okay, I understand the pattern. Like, I'm trying to forgive myself. I do. And then all of a sudden, like, you have that flashback to that one time that you should have applied to that job, or you should have sent that email pitching yourself and you didn't. And you have a flashback to it and it's kind of embarrassing. And then you think, like, God, I'm so dumb. Why didn't I just do it? Like, I could have just done it. And obviously, you couldn't have. Obviously, you couldn't have, because if you could have, you would have done it. And that is okay. You are still right where you need to be. You can still trust the timing of your life. And you can do that in a gentle and compassionate way where you are not bullying yourself. So every time that shame starts to reappear and starts to tell you that you are just so wrong for all the times that you missed that opportunity or missed that chance or fumbled that thing that was right in front of you, okay, I'm aware of that thought. I observe that I have it, but you know what? I forgive myself because I trust the timing of my life. I know that I'm not going to miss what's for me. And if I had given up, then I wouldn't still be working on it. And because I haven't given up, I'm going to be there eventually. So coach yourself back into that kind of positivity that isn't necessarily, like bypassing anything. You're acknowledging all the difficult emotions, but you don't want to wallow in them. You don't want to stay in them forever. And as I mentioned at the very beginning, when I defined resentment, the first thing that came up in that definition that stuck out to me was the fact that it's a persistent ill will at something regarded as a wrong, insult, or injury. That persistence. We really can dwell and live in resentment forever. I'm sure you can think of one elder in your life or in your family or someone that you know or used to know that has lived in resentment their entire life. And tell me right now, is that who you want to be? Is that the person on your vision board that you are trying to become? How much can you just relive the past, and how much can you shame yourself for the past? Your threshold for that will start to decrease every time you reaffirm to yourself in your mind that you're not going down that road. It doesn't matter. The past is the past. And now you know that every opportunity that comes your way, you want to at least try. And guess what? That goes right back to our question that we asked ourselves. What is this stopping me from doing or being? When you recognize the pattern of, oh, I missed so many opportunities. I fumbled so many things because I just assumed I didn't deserve it. I just assumed that, I needed to play small. I just assumed that, I'm the person that gets stuck with the short end of the stick. Okay, but what do you want to do? You want to be that person that has everything you want. How are you going to be the person that has everything you want or everything you desire or meets all these goals in your career or in your family? Okay, well, you take all these opportunities. You take all these chances. You take the chances that feel in alignment with you. You do the things that excite you, even if they scare you. Okay, so now I know what I want to be. Now I know how resentment and these limitations are stopping me from being that. And now I forgive. Sorry, my dog started barking like crazy, and now I forgive myself for all of these ways that it prevented me from doing those things or becoming that person. So now what's going to help me? What are my two options? I can sit and shame myself and wallow myself and continue missing opportunities, or I can not wallow in the shame. I can forgive myself and realize that the important thing, the bottom line here, is to keep putting myself out there, is to keep going for every opportunity that I want, is to keep working on these goals and these things that I want to create, right? It's always about the bottom line. Healing, and the way that I've moved through my life, this is a little bit of a tangent, but the way that I've moved through my life has been by always focusing on the bottom line. What is the bottom line? In a fight with my partner, the bottom line is having a healthy relationship and healthy communication and all the things that go along with that. So do I need to put my ego aside, or do I need to be more bold and state what I want? Yes, because I'm focused on the bottom line. In your life, your goals need to be your bottom line, no matter what they are. That is you, and you need to be locked into who you are becoming. That doesn't mean being harsh with yourself, yelling at yourself, shaming yourself, forcing yourself and contorting yourself into these rigid schedules and all these things that don't serve you. No, you can get there gently and compassionately, but do not take your eye off the prize. You can get there slowly, but keep getting there. So forgiving yourself is actually so much bigger than what it sounds. But every time you go down that path of shame, or you start spiraling, or you start feeling that anxiety, call yourself back to your bottom line and remember that you're capable of forgiving yourself at any point. At any point, you can start that cycle or restart that cycle, and it is always there for you. The fourth and final step in overcoming resentment is to make it easy on yourself to create the new habit. So what I mean by that is, obviously we've taken the time to understand our previous patterns and how those patterns sabotaged us. So if we understand that pattern, and we also have a good grasp on what our goal is or the direction that we want to move in, then we need to create a new pattern, a new habit, right? So again, part of that is the self-forgiveness and the self-talk that is more compassionate. But we also need to create action, right? We're not just going to fix everything in our mind space. So how do we create the action that we actually need in order to become the person that we want to be? We need to break it down into simple steps. So if I take that example of being in your business and holding yourself back from all these opportunities that you want, all these things that you want to do, because you just assume someone else is going to get it, because you just assume that you're not worthy or not valuable, or you just feel unseen, so you're just going to project that on your future. Okay, that is the pattern. Now we need to create a new habit where we are able to put ourselves out there. We're able to put ourselves out there fluidly and with confidence. And along with that habit also means we have to learn how to handle rejection. We have to learn how to take the no's along with the yeses. And we have to let that not stop our momentum. So now we've established what the new habit is. Still easier said than done, but we know what it is. So that knowledge is an important step. And instead of overwhelming ourselves and our nervous systems with the goals and with the new habits, which then will just cause more of a divide, more resistance, more shame, we now need to make it beyond easy for ourselves to put ourselves out there. So for example, maybe your very first step in putting yourself out there is looking at your visibility on all your socials already, or if you have a website, looking at that. So, okay, what does my about me sound like? What do I say in all my social media bios? Like, what is already out there? Because in that instance, you don't have to reinvent the wheel, and you're starting with something that already exists. But okay, what does this look like? If I'm coming from this new energy, this new alignment, this new goal of what I am becoming or doing, then how would that version of me sound in this very literal physical space? Maybe reset some of your bios and then start getting used to the idea of the new thing you have claimed for yourself or claimed about yourself. Maybe you look at your website and you say, okay, I'm the person that puts myself out there. Well, maybe on my website, I shouldn't hide my prices. Maybe on my website, I shouldn't make it hard to see a picture of me or to see what it is that I do. Maybe I need to be more clear, right? Taking a look at what's already out there, because you've already overcome the fears around visibility to create that thing in the first place. You already have your social media profile. You already have your website. So now you're just looking at it with a new lens. And then you go from there and you keep building other steps that are consistent, and you can give yourself time in between, right? Don't try and rush this process. There's no point. Trust the timing of your life. Okay, so you did this thing and you worked on your visibility. Well, maybe it felt kind of easy. Maybe you're like, you know what? No. I need to write down everything on my to-do list and go through everything and check things off because this was so easy. No, stop yourself from doing that and from moving too quickly. Give your body time to regulate to that version of yourself. And for some of you, that might mean knowing I am this person. I'm this person that I claim that I am. I'm visible in this way that I want to be. I'm going to put on my dream playlist and hold on to this energy, or I'm going to think about how good I look walking into that room, to do that public speaking engagement, or to show up online, or whatever it is. I'm going to see and visualize the highest version of myself doing that while I'm on the treadmill, while I'm taking a walk outside, while I'm soaking in a hot tub, while I'm sitting in the sauna. Whatever those things are that make you feel good, start to regulate your nervous system and get yourself used to that idea, because while it felt good, good and you have a little bit of a momentum, you also want to make sure that this is sustainable. And a lot of people, I talk about this in like all of my content at this point as a black sheep, is that we get so sucked into the black and white thinking of it all. So we think, oh, you know what? I'm on this great trajectory. Like I changed my bios, I changed my website. I'm doing so good. I'm going to keep going, blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden something happens where one day or 1 week happens where we fall off. It could be something as simple as getting sick and realizing that you need rest, taking a few days off, and then boom, that momentum is broken. That feeling of motivation and external validation and all those things are broken. What is going to keep you going? And immediately there, some of you will already fall back into the shame, fall back into the self-blame and the, I don't deserve this and I'm not good enough and blah, blah, all of that stuff. So instead of going down that path, let's take our time with everything. And it could even be a day. If you really feel good about it and you give yourself a day to, feel good, for your nervous system to kind of catch up with the changes that you've made and you're ready to take the next small thing tomorrow, okay, that's fine. But again, don't get caught up in the all or nothing feeling of it all, right? That's what black and white thinking is I'm either all moving in this direction or I've thrown my whole momentum off. I'm just ruined. Like, who cares? I'm going to skip my workout today and now go eat 3 pizzas because I broke my streak of going to the gym. I'm going to delete the entire app of Duolingo because I broke my 14-day streak. Like, all of that can actually be such a major pattern of self-sabotage in itself because you are refusing to see your own humanity and refusing to see your own sustainability and your own boundaries, and instead trying to bulldoze through everything while not listening to yourself, which is inevitably going to dysregulate your nervous system. And if you know that you struggle with this all or nothing mindset, I've created a free tool for you as well that I always link in the show notes, in the description. It's on my website as well, but it is called Bye Bye Binary Thinking, and that is another term for all or nothing thinking. But this is just a completely free downloadable workbook that you can work through to recognize your specific all or nothing thoughts, so that as soon as you start thinking that way, you're like, wait. I remember this thought. I wrote this thought down. I know that this is the pattern where I start getting myself into this whole spiraling out mentality. And I'm going to stop this in its tracks and think something else. And so it guides you through ways to do that and ways to recognize and block your own thoughts so that you don't keep going down that trajectory. And like I said, it's completely free. So if you want to start somewhere, at least start with that, because that is going to help you understand possibly your pattern of self-sabotage, if not at least a piece of it. So making the habit as easy as possible and creating an action plan is the fourth and final way to overcome your resentment. Because again, what is the bottom line? The bottom line is making sure that whatever bullshit you went through in your childhood, in your past, is not something that is going to stop you from being who you are meant to be. It does not have that power over you. And that is what I always mean by taking your power back. Your power always resides in something. Is it going to reside in your past? Is it going to reside in your current excuses? Is it going to reside in the people around you whose opinions you're waiting on? Or is it going to reside in yourself and in what you decide is right for you, and what you decide is time for you to be doing? That is taking your power back. And the opposite of being resentful and walking around with slumped shoulders and telling yourself that it's not fair and that maybe it wasn't. But what's more not fair is you in your 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s continuing to use your past as a reason for why you cannot be who you need to be, why you cannot do what you were meant to do. Your desires don't just come out of nowhere. They come from you. They come from a deep part of you. They come from the divine. They are connected to your purpose and what it is that you are supposed to be doing. The things that you want and the things that you crave to become aren't from nowhere. They are your divine purpose. They are a part of you. They are ideas and concepts and identities and beliefs that want to manifest through you, that also want to make life easier on you. And believe it or not, because of the way that black sheep test their unworthiness, because we believe in our unworthiness, we genuinely push away the easy things in our lives. We push away what makes sense. We push away the path of least resistance. We push away the ease. And that will hold you back and hold you down so severely. And you do not deserve that. You deserve better. You are you. You are one of one. You are a miracle. It is so incredible that you survived what you did. And not only did you survive, but you are sitting here listening to this, wanting to thrive. You are on the path to thriving. So let that guide you. As much as the things weren't fair, as much as the resentment and the fear and the anger and the rage was so present, so were your survival mechanisms. So were all the coping mechanisms and the things that got you through. And this is why you also need to forgive yourself for those things. I've had a past with substance abuse, and I've had a past with doing all kinds of things that I am not proud of, but I did that to survive. And as soon as I could do better for myself, I did. And that is exactly who you are too. So you can't sit here blaming yourself and shaming yourself and making yourself feel awful for the things that came up for you to get you through the things that you had to get through. But now you can make a different decisions. Stop making the same decisions over and over again. Commit to the change. Commit to you. This episode and this content has me fired up, as you can tell, but I want to remind you that there are multiple ways to go forward and multiple resources that I can offer you in order to get yourself to the next level. So number one is the free Bye Bye Binary Thinking workbook. Like I said, you download it, it goes straight to your email. You can edit the PDF, you can print it out, whatever makes sense for you. But that is going to help you break through your all or nothing mindset so you don't keep going in these thought cycles that are harming you. Then the second resource is the Worthiness Blueprint. So this is for all the black sheep and cycle breakers who are ready to recommit to their self-worth on a mind, body, and spiritual level. This is going to help with the somatics, the body, the nervous system. This is going to help with you intellectualizing and understanding some of those things, but not getting stuck there. You are using your body and your mind together to break through your low self-worth and your low self-esteem and creating a new pattern and a new cycle that you can actually sustain moving forward. And that is the Worthiness Blueprint. It's a self-paced course, so you can sign up for it, get all the content, and work through it at your own pace. There's no need to be seen. There's no need to join a busy group chat. It's just you. It is all you. And it puts the feeling of high self-worth and healing back into your own hands. If you want to take this work even further, we can work together one-on-one. So like I said, I'm a tarot reader. We can do a one-on-one live virtual tarot reading that's either half an hour or 60 minutes. That is going to be a beautiful way to get guidance, not only from me, but from the divine in what your purpose is, in what it is that you need to know, but maybe are not seeing, in the things that are going to help you regain clarity and regain focus in your life. And then the last piece is also self-worth coaching. So if you are ready to just sit down and figure out what is that pattern of self-sabotage, why can't I move past this? What is it that I want to be? I just don't know. I just feel stuck. I just feel like no one ever quite understands me, but I know I'm ready for something more. I know I need more, but I don't even see all the pieces yet. It's for you if you don't know what questions you need to ask, but you know you need to do some form of work. This is for you when you're like, I just don't even know, but I want to move forward. I hate where I am and I don't know what's in front of me. That is when you know you are ready for a self-worth coaching session, because it gives us time from one black sheep to another to sit down, to look at your life, to figure out how you can alchemize, how you can transmute, how you can turn things from being stuck to being motivated, to being excited, and to having a physical action plan for how you are going to better your life. And that is one thing that I probably don't say enough about self-worth coaching is I always leave you with some sort of action plan, with some sort of takeaway, with something that you can keep doing and evolve with in order to take the work outside of the session. I've always said I'm not going to be there with you forever. You need to learn how to walk on your own, but there are resources and guides and help available to you, and I am one of those. My goal isn't for you to keep coming back to me year after year or week after week. I need you to be able to learn this on your own, but I am there to do it alongside you. I am there to make sure that you are feeling empowered, that you are feeling ready. And that is beautiful. That is my life's work. So again, that is a self-worth coaching session. All my services can all be found at blacksheepexperience.com. You can also go to blacksheepexperience.com/all links. I'll put both URLs up on the screen. They'll also be in the show notes and the description, but that will also help you see all my services kind of in one place to figure out which one is going to be best and right for you. But with that being said, I thank you so much for being here. I hope this message inspired you, and I am sending you so much love. Remember that you are worthy, whether you believe it or not.
Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Becoming Enough. Be sure to rate and leave a review of the podcast so that other Black Sheep and cycle breakers like you can find us too. Visit blacksheepexperience.com to learn more about how we can work together to elevate your self-worth and eradicate your worthiness wounds for good. Remember that you are worthy whether you believe it or not. I love you so much. Happy healing.